It's going wonderful, to say the
Yeah,
least.
amazing.
I would tell you, based on the community support, the hard work we're putting in, it's, the support we're getting from unusual sources. Because when I started in January, I was by myself and with very, very few people encouraging me like yourself, Ice, your brother, and your whole family. I was alone. But I can tell you now, we have a movement behind this congressional run, and it's going tremendously well.
Hi, once more, welcome to the You Can Be Anything podcast. It's your girl, So Babe, Solange Chair here, your host. And today it's an amazing day. It's been a great weekend and we are grateful for a new week. This morning, I'm bringing to you Nigebi, as we call him, but Gabriel Njinimbot. And Gabriel Njinimbot is a progressive Democrat running for Congress to represent the 4th Congressional District for Maryland. Amidst many of the things that Gabriel is looking to achieve during his term in office, some of them I'd like to call out is a better education with higher standards for the young, higher pay for healthcare professionals, increase in minimum wage to $25, a cleaner environment, every student, senior citizens, a lot of things that he's willing to work on as soon as he gets into office. So I'm going to bring Gabriel Njinimbot up and let's talk to him. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation, Gabriel. Welcome to the show one more time.
Of course, it's good to be back.
Yes, so Gabriel is back. He's been here twice already. Initially, when he started this run, in the middle of the run, and today we have him again. November is drawing close, and so we brought Nigebi back to come talk to us about how things are going. How is the run going for you? And that is why we're here today, to get an update on this whole venture of yours.
So let me first of all say, you are doing an amazing job, and you bring to light many people who have stories, that untold stories. And I don't know if you know, but your podcast is very inspiring to many people. It's very enlightening. And, I think at one time we should do a podcast on yourself, and I will be the one interviewing you so people can tell and know the great things you've been doing, And so thank you for having me again on here. I'm very happy to be here. I remember when I started this whole Congress run thing, I came to your show first because of the stories you've been telling, the very inspiring stories. And I wanted to come back today and tell you more about how things are going. It's going wonderful, to say the least.
Amazing.
I would tell you, based on the community support, the hard work we're putting in, it's, the support we're getting from unusual sources. Because when I started in January, I was by myself and with very, very few people encouraging me like yourself, Ice, your brother, and your whole family. I was alone. But I can tell you now, we have a movement behind this congressional run, and it's going tremendously well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for giving that explanation. And again, I know that there are a few people who joined today who, again, maybe they started following my platform not so long ago, and they just want to know. So I don't want us to go into the details of the details of everything, but just a snippet, right? Just a little bit like, hey, what is this run for Congress for? So if someone joins us today and they just want like, hey, who is this? Who is Solange talking to today? Please just give like a little background on this whole run for Congress, please.
Yeah, sure. This whole run for Congress is because increasingly we want to see Congress diversified. If you look at what's going on there right now, 87% or more of the folks who make decisions for us are mostly very, very rich folks, or folks who are well connected to, billionaires and millionaires on Wall Street, and friends with lobbyists, or folks who have special interests. But the vast majority of people who make up the very fabric of this nation are people below the middle class and the middle class folks. And we want ordinary working class people, nurses, doctors, lawyers, teachers, janitors, regular folks to be the ones making decisions for us, because we're the ones who understand what it means to be an immigrant, what it means to be poor, what it means to be homeless in some cases, what it means to earn a minimum wage, and so on. So I decided to embark on this because the ordinary guy on the street needs a voice in the United States Congress. And I'm going to be the one who would represent that, because I understand what it means to be an immigrant. I came in some 2 decades ago. I earned a minimum wage. I worked in a seafood restaurant. I worked in, I own a small business. I have kids who are in public schools, and one of them recently gone to college. And so the whole thing is about representation. We need ordinary people to represent ordinary people in the House and even in the Senate. Why not?
Yeah, that is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So that is what the run is for. So if you've just heard that, and if you don't know, you can tell from the name Njinimbot. This is one of ours. That's why we are so excited to push him forward. Nigebi is from Balinyanga, and just like many of us have, he also came to the US about 2 decades ago for when we come to the US, we're looking for this dream, right? The American dream. And I love the fact that one of the reasons why he is a very, very relevant guest on my podcast is because, as you all know, the name of my podcast is You Can Be Anything. And I say to everyone, we have that potential to become what we want to become. You just need to put in the work. You need, again, some people come and say, oh, it's the American dream. Now, where this man has taken himself today, where he is standing today, is due to hard work. It is due to the time, the work that he has put in. If you know him anywhere in the MD4 area, you will know that he is a very ambitious person. Somebody, as you just mentioned, has gone through with the whole survival job that I've talked about on this podcast. He has earned minimum wage. He has learned a ton of things. He has been in the IT space. He has been in the entrepreneurial space, and he just keeps going forward. Today, we are working and vying and pushing that, hey, everybody that finds themselves in the MD4 area need to go out and vote for him for Congress. You see that he is taking those steps consistently. And to think that these things are coming about on the platter of gold, it's not true, right? He is waving. He is, how do they call it? The shock waves of life. Those things are hitting him, but he's aggressively crushing them. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about this journey, right? I know that we've heard your story. We've heard how you found yourself where you are today. And to the extent that we are coming close to November, right? And hey, things are happening, things are coming. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Do you feel like you have the support that you need from our community and your community in the MD4 areas? When I talk of our community, I'm referring to us Cameroonians, Africans, right? And when I talk about your community in the MD4 area, I'm talking about your on-the-ground community, the people you are going in to serve. How has this journey been with you? Do you think you've had the support you needed to find your way through?
Absolutely. Look, I started in January with $0. When I say zero, I mean on the 4th of January, I typed up a little text message introducing myself to the community as this guy who is running for what? For United States Congress. And it was the most difficult thing for me to put myself out there, because generally I'm somebody who is very laid back. I, do go to work, stay there, and come back home to be with the family and all. But I typed this first message saying I'm running for the United States Congress, and it was very, very difficult to make that kind of an announcement, because I know the conventional way of doing things is, starting from a small city council or a county level, state, and then you go to the United States Congress. But I think that in America, anything is possible, especially if you're willing to do the work, especially if you're willing to put your mind on it and do a lot of sacrifices. You can make it work. Month by month, it was increasingly difficult because I needed to make phone calls. I did make 200 phone calls every single day for 8 hours sitting on the table. And when I say 8 hours, I mean literally 8 hours every day sitting on the table to make these phone calls. It's necessary because you want to talk to the constituents. You want to understand what they want, what they need, because they're the ones you're going to be representing, especially for someone like me who is not very rich, who is not well connected to special interests or lobbyists or corporations. I don't have those connections. So I have to do the legwork. I have to do the door knocking. I have to do the phone calls. I have to talk to a lot of people. And it's not been very easy, I would tell you that. And it's, working and having a family and running for Congress, it's beyond difficult. And that's why most people don't do it. But if someone doesn't step out and do it, our community, like you mentioned, the African community, will still stay without a proper representation in Congress. The folks who are that rich, they need your vote. No matter how poor you are, they will come to you when they need your vote. But after that, they're gone. You would never see them in your community. You would never see them knocking on your doors. You would never see them on your podcasts, for that matter. And so, but I love the community support. It's been amazing because when I started off, there was a lot of people who were skeptical about this and even told me not to do it because it's a very, very difficult work. And I agree with them, but it's not an impossible work. Just like many people in this country, my story is a true reflection of what the immigrant story is about. America is an immigrant story, but we thrive through support from individuals, from groups, from community. And that's exactly what I'm getting. We went from $0 in January to about $70-something thousand last month. I did not believe that. There were folks who thought that by this time I would not be in the race. In fact, I remember somebody I spoke to in January when I was making those phone calls. She sent me an email a couple of days ago asking me if I'm still in the race. And I said, yeah, I am still here. And I'm going to be here till the very last day. So I will be here till the very last day. We will knock on these doors all the way to when the doors in Congress open for us. The community is behind this movement every single day. I see it because I hear from them. They tell me when I go to the streets to talk to them, they see my work, they see the things I do on Facebook, they see the doors. I knock on somebody's door. Interestingly, they open the door, is somebody I know. And so it's amazing. It's difficult, but it's very, very possible because I love what I do. And I have the support of many, many folks that are in this district, in this state, in the whole country, even in Africa. I get support messages from people in the remote parts of Cameroon, which tells me that the message is actually going through. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
That's amazing. We have someone watching from Kigali, Rwanda. So, hey, you are touching the roots, okay? And again, thank you all so much for joining. I see someone watching also from ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining. And this is what I'm talking about when we talk of support. And when we talk of supporting, I have seen the support. We just heard Nick Gabi say he moved from $0 in January to almost $70,000 now. That money did not come from his pocket, okay? That money came from people who have seen his dream, people who trust in him, people who believe that he can do this, and they keep supporting him. And again, it is still open for those who are willing to support. Again, we all know where we come from. He is not from one of those families that will say, hey, I got this, I'm going to sponsor this for you. So he is a man of the people, which means that the community he is a community child, let me put it that way, which means that our community, we as a whole, as a people, we are going to have to support him to make this through. And so far, we've been doing a great job. A big, huge thank you for everybody who has contributed towards this and for those who are still open to contributing. It is still very open. So we appreciate you so much for that. Let's talk a little bit about your campaign style. I have seen the work you're doing. Unfortunately, I'm not in the MZ area. I'll definitely be holding one of those fires and jumping on those, making some of those calls and everything. But I do see all the flyers. I see the people who come out to support you during the campaign. Tell us a little bit about the whole campaign, the different strategies. I know you're doing different things. You're hosting events, you're doing the different drives where people go out with the placards, they put them. Just tell us a little bit about how you're doing your campaign style within the MD4 district, please.
Yeah, so thanks for that. So the way we do it is a little bit different. Typically or conventionally, people would, or candidates would organize rallies and invite folks to come so they could talk to them. But we're not doing it that way because we understand that, folks are busy, especially our middle class folks who must work to earn a living, which is one of the things I really going to be fighting for when I get into office. So we take this campaign to the folks. We don't have to have the folks come to us. And that's why with the help of my supporters, the community, we came up with this idea of wrapping a box truck with our campaign logo, my photo, and the messages that I'm going to be carrying to Congress. And I personally drive this truck all over the place. My children know it. I'm also happy that they know that I would drop them off at school with that box truck. I will pick them up. We go to the grocery store. We go all over the place with that box truck. And I know that people do see it because I get text messages from people who see the truck. The other thing we do is go to every gathering. If there's one or two people anywhere, we're going to go there. We're going to go there and make sure that they can hear our message. We take the message to the people everywhere they are. It could be in the church. It could be on the corner of the street. It could be at the LA Fitness. It could be at restaurants. We're everywhere. And the other thing I'm doing, I have to give credit to the folks, to our African folks. There's this notion that Africans do not vote. No. Initially I had that impression, but I was wrong, completely wrong. Because when I go through the voter file, I can see tons of Africans who are not just registered to vote, but are actually voting. Now, with that said, and with that seen, we have to make sure that these folks know that one of theirs is running. It's a very large community. It's very difficult to get to everyone. Even in the churches, not everybody goes to church, not everybody goes to the mall, not everybody goes to LA Fitness. Plus, it's almost impossible to knock on 330,000 doors at one time. But here is where we come in as a community. The campaign is going to try as much as possible to reach out to as many folks as possible. Actually, I can say this very confidently. And I want anybody who is listening, not just in the state of Maryland, but in all 50 states across the union. Immigrants or just Africans can elect themselves into Congress, into the Senate by themselves because we are many. You've heard this saying, it takes a whole village to raise a child. We are more than a village. We are more than a country in several ways, right? In several ways, because in District 4, in Maryland, in the country, let's pick one profession, the only profession that keeps everybody alive, the healthcare profession. You just don't imagine how many of us Africans are in this profession. I mean, I know that, folks don't say it out to us, but I'm telling you, if we pull ourselves out, it would be a pandemic. It would be a crisis. And I see this on the voter file. There's a lot of Africans, a lot of them inside the voter file who are registered to vote and are voting. And I need many more people because here's the reality of things. I want that the legacy that my win would leave behind would be to have 25 more of us in the House and the Senate. You see the dysfunction that's there right now. You see the chaos that's there right now. We want to go in there and be on that table and not just watch it on CNN, on Fox News, and make comments behind the scenes. We want to be on that table, and we are more than capable of being on there. So it's going to support It's amazing, but I just don't want the support to end with a $5, $10, $100 contribution. I want involvement. And we are involved, but we can get many, many more folks to be involved because it will make a difference. It will make a difference not just for our community, it will make a difference for the continent. A continent that has been looked down upon, but being relied upon. We want to be part of this democracy. We want to be part of the policies and procedures. We want to be part of the laws. We want to be part of those who make the decisions as to who is Speaker of the House, or I don't care if it's a Democratic Party or in the Republican Party, I don't care. I just want us to be on the table because at the end of the day, be you a Republican or a Democrat, your community will benefit. That's what the mission is all about. The time has come. The time has come when to be on that table. And folks are beginning to realize that because if you go to the Georgia State Senate, there's tons of Africans in there. Tons of Nigerians in there. If you look at different states council, city councils, and county executive offices, there are tons of us over there. It's time. That time is now, where we have to set the tone, set the pace, open the door. Not just born into this country as children of immigrants, but they are part of this country, and those who can actually make decisions that can affect everyone else in this continent and all over the planet.
Great. Thanks for, again, just by saying all of those things that you've said, it helps us understand that this is actually something that is very possible. And you gave the example of Georgia, and now you are in the Maryland area. I see a question of how we can vote. Bernadette, so those who can vote are the people who live, have a registered address in the Maryland 4th district. Even though I support him so much, I am not in that area, I cannot vote, but I have another way to vote, to support him, sorry. But for those who can actually cast votes, this has to be people who live in the Maryland 4th district. And I'm happy that you're talking about not only people who are registered voters, but people who are actually voting. I'll definitely agree with you that I have always thought, again, we've said this time and time again, that Africans do not vote. We just come and we let the people vote for us, or people decide what we want to live in, even though we have migrated and we are living here as Americans and wanting to be, decisions are being made that impact our lives and being able to be on that table. So when you say, hey, we have to be represented on the table, to me, I feel like that's a very important thing. And that is a run that I want to support, because as my children are growing, as I am aging in this country, I want to make sure that the decisions that are made in the country that are going to impact me, there is somebody in there that represents me, right? And so that's why I feel this is a very important and a very significant one, not only for us as Cameroonians who live abroad, but also as Africans who live here, because we have someone in there that represents us. We're not just there to live and go by the rules that are set by other people, but we have our own representation. So thank you for taking upon this heart. It is not an easy one. I understand it when you say a lot of people have doubted you from the beginning. People are like, what the heck are you doing? Get out of there. Yeah. Everything has come across you to kick you out of this fight. But then you stayed resilient, right? You have been...
And just to add one thing, this is who we are. We are very, very resilient folks. Think about where you came from. And for all the immigrants, all the Africans who are watching, think about where you came from and where you are right now. Like, what's more complicated than someone who left everything behind in their hometown and flew across the deserts and flew across the ocean, came into a country that's completely unknown. And today, they're contributing in several ways to the welfare and well-being of not just the economy, but for the children of the economy of this nation. Think about our teachers. If you go to all the schools, not just in my district, in the state, across the country, a lot of the teachers, which I mean, kudos to all people who teach. It's one of the most difficult professions in history, if you ask my opinion, because you're dealing with children from every background, from different races, and they have the patience to deal with this, help the kids, the future doctors, future lawyers, future senators, future members of Congress, future presidents. They're the ones who groom the children. And a lot of them are immigrants. Think about our nurses. Think about those who are in the IT profession. Think about the janitors. Think about everyone else. Think about our veterans. A lot of them are folks who look just like you and I, but increasingly, there are those who always get kicked to the background. There are those who have difficulties getting paid what they deserve. There are those who get treated not so well when they sign up for duty, go fight, bleed, and some of them die for this country. They don't get treated that well because of one simple reason. The kinds of people we elect in big government don't look like us, they don't think like us, and of course, they will never come to your door because they don't understand what you're going through as an immigrant. Someone who left everything behind, came to this country. Nobody understands that better than you. And so if you have issues of immigration, by the way, or those who came to this country, who braved the 5 years, 10 years to become a citizen, when they simply want to work, pay their taxes, and send their own kids to school and watch their own dreams come true to reality, the answer is no. If you ask most immigrants, they will tell you that that's not what they want to do. But if you elect the wrong folks in Congress, what's the expectation? What's the expectation? So it is about time we change this status quo. This status quo must change. And it will not change until in your respective jurisdictions, even those who can't vote for me, I would say wherever you are, encourage somebody to run, somebody who looks like you, think like you, understand what you're going through. Tell them, pick a clipboard, sign up and run for office. Because if I'm here 9 months down into this, then anybody can do it. I encourage you to do it. I encourage everybody to do it because in America, everything is possible. You heard that before. Yep. This status quo must change. And I think this generation could do better than anyone else.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vivian Ejiofor, for the contribution. Yes, resilience is our thing. It's something that I don't know if it's based on how we grew up or the circumstances around our upbringing. One thing I know for sure that I have, and I know that you have, Nigebi, is this resilience, right? Knowing what we want and standing for it and fighting for it and not giving up, being persistent and resilient. And so I'm just appreciating what Vivian Ejiofor says in the comment section. So you do mention you talk a lot about, hey, the people, our people that work, Africans, Cameroonians, that immigrants in general, that work in healthcare, that teach in schools. I have my own personal things that I've always held against how low teachers are paid because I know what they go through. Personally, as a mom, I struggle to get my own daughter together to teach her something. Then I imagine what the teachers go through in classes. And when you look at their wages, you look at how much they get paid, you ask yourself, why? Why are these people getting paid so low in comparison to other professions when they're actually the ones that nurture, that look at this, that teach these kids when they are still the foundation of our kids? Yes, in our households as well, but even the teachers play a big role. Why do they pay them so low? I've asked that question a million times, and I'm happy that is actually one of the things you stand for. And that, again, when you get into Congress, you will be able to make a stand for the teachers in your district, and hopefully other districts will be able to follow this, and it could become a new norm that our teachers get paid better because they do a tremendous job.
I've been to several schools, and it's different when you sit from the background and watch or hear the stories of these teachers. You need to go to the schools and talk to them, and you would fully understand what these folks go through. And they should not, in this century, in this country, be paid less, because I know that the country could pay our teachers even more than they're paying them right now. If we could sponsor wars across the ocean and spend $300 million a day, like we did in Afghanistan for 20 years, $2.2 trillion in total. In Afghanistan, several $1 trillion. We can spend that money on our teachers. Today, an average teacher, and I'm not saying this just based on some hearsay, I've been to the schools. I've had meetings with them. Today in this country, teachers still use their own money to buy school supplies. It's not a joke. You could ask them, there's so many of them here. None of them, with what they make, they spend on the average $250 a week to buy school supplies because they can't afford to watch a child come to class without a pencil or something they need to study. And these people do this out of passion, not because of the money. They do this because they love to teach. I've read stories where some of them couldn't keep up with the pay and had to go work at Costco. I literally read a story of a teacher who left the profession, now works at Costco, and is very, very happy. But happy in the sense that she makes more money, but because she left her profession, she was not very, very pleased by that. But she needs to do that. She needs to do that because she needs to make money. She has bills to pay. She needs to take a vacation. She needs to send her own kids to school, and so on and so forth. So that makes it really, really hard. So we can change these things. If the ordinary teacher in Cameroon is struggling to survive, that shouldn't happen in the United States of America, where they can approve budgets in Congress for anything except paying teachers. This is wrong. It's flat out wrong. And we want many more teachers to run, people who understand what it means to teach in classrooms. We want them to run. So that's one of the things I will be fighting for. And I'm hoping that when many more people who have a passion in seeing that teachers are treated well, get paid well, get good retirement benefits, come into Congress, we can fight for that. My son's school teacher, she's from Liberia, she taught in this school district for 45 years. Do you hear that? 45 years in teaching in an elementary school. And she retired, and 2 weeks later, she went and was working at a call center for American Airlines in Norfolk, Virginia. You work for 45 years, you retire, and in 2 weeks you go back to work? What does that tell you? She wasn't getting paid well for a profession she loved. And that's the story of most teachers in this country. That shouldn't be happening. It should not be happening. We should pay more attention to our students, our teachers, because guess what? They are the next generation of everything. And they will face stiff competition from other kids coming from all over the world into this country if we don't prepare them for a world-class education. And that starts by paying the teachers more to give them incentive to teach. Right now, our students in most schools in this country struggle with an 8% proficiency in mathematics. 8%. A 24% proficiency in reading, and only 74% of them could graduate at the end of every school year. And you know damn well that when only 76% can graduate, there's a lot of them who fall between the cracks. And those who leave school don't want to go to college. There's no trade school. There are no plumbing schools. There's no electrical engineering. There is no schools that teach them how to build computer chips. They rather buy them from China, which is made built by kids in high school. The chips in our phones, the chips in our watches. 8, 10, 15-year-old children from China are doing that. But in this country, we're not doing it. We need to change that status quo. We need to change that perspective. And all it requires is a new type of energy, a new type of understanding, not folks who are part of the establishment, because all they want to do is keep their job, make their money, work for special interest groups, work for lobbies and those big corporations, those on Wall Street, and let the folks below the poverty belt struggle and fight for the crumbs. We must change that. We have to change that by making sure that ordinary people, and it's not that complicated. If I'm doing it, anybody could do it, to be the ones representing us, because there's no way you can pull me out of the grassroots. That's how I grew up. You can't change me overnight. Even your money cannot change me overnight. So that's why we don't collect any money from those groups, not from corporations, not from special interest groups. In fact, I signed up for a waiver for term limits. I don't want to be in Congress for 45 years until I'm 90 years of age, because I know that the children who are in our schools today are waiting, willing, and capable of being the next elected members of Congress, of county execs, or council members. So we shouldn't be there for that long. They criticize Africans, heads of states, for being there for running their country for decades. and running it down to the gutters and running it down the tubes, but they stay in Congress for 45 years. How does that make sense?
That is an interesting question to ask. I thought that staying in power was an African thing.
Yeah.
Yep. In the course of talking, you did mention something that is dear to me, dear to my heart, and is the fact that giving our children the opportunity to learn how, it's not only about going to college, right? It's the ability. I was reading an article yesterday which places the math proficiency of the U.S. The U.S. falls. It used to be in the 60s among the first 5 in the world, but at the moment it has gone into the 30s. Yes. So math proficiency for American schools and children has dropped all the way. They fall in the 30s now, which means that we are actually seeing how things are dropping. Things are not. It is not a good thing. It is bad, right? It is. And you do mention like it is important that we have opportunities for these kids to do other things and not just go to college to learn communication, like general. When I talk again, I'm not bashing any particular field, but we don't want our kids to continuously. I did general education and I had to upskill in order to be able to find a place in this competitive world. You get it? And I think that those are things that with people like you in Congress, you should be able to say, hey, our children can do better. When they get out, they can learn hands-on things that they can really do. Keep away, let them learn the theories, but they should be able to do things with their hands, just like the chips that you said are being made in China. And we consume, I think we're one of the biggest consumers here. But our kids, we don't take the time to teach, to groom our children to know that, hey, you can do this, mechanical engineering, what part of IT, whatever it is, right? Even if it's building medical equipment and stuff like that. I believe that if I had the powers and to make decisions in this country and also in my country, Cameroon, I'll focus more on children learning how to do things like this for our kids, making sure that our kids, we correct the mistakes that we feel in our children. You get it? So I want us to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this, your fight for minimum wage. This has been in the air. I've heard this when I first came to America. I think my first job, I worked at Red Lobster. And I don't think I lived on tips. I think I was being paid less than $5. About 2 years later, I heard that they had actually put a minimum wage in restaurants, but restaurants used to not even pay up to $5 an hour. But again, I was successful there because I lived on tips, had a great attitude, and I made some good money serving people, right? But then when I see minimum wage, when I left Red Lobster, I did another survival job and I was making about $12.50. The max that I made on my survival jobs within Maryland, not your district, but Maryland in general, was about $14, right? So if I see something like, hey, $25 minimum wage, that is good.
Yeah.
This is good. Let's talk a little bit to us about that.
Let's talk about that because I'm very passionate about minimum wage because I came in, I started working at a seafood restaurant. I got paid $5 an hour back in 1999, 2000. And like you said, you cannot live on tips. Now, what I always say is that for those who sit down and pass the laws to pay folks a minimum wage, for example, Maryland struggled to increase it now with the new governor, Westmore, to about $15 an hour. What I say, let's begin by getting those who pass those laws, pay them $15 an hour and see how that works. Okay? Nobody lives on minimum wage in this country. And then you wonder why those who not condoning that, it's okay to break into people's cars to steal money or rob people's houses and things like that, not condoning that. But what is your expectation when someone who is educated, willing, and able to work in this country in 2023 gets paid a minimum wage of $15 an hour, actually $12 an hour in most places? And this person has a rent to pay, has to drive, pay insurance, eat, have kids that go to school, and some of the parents are single, be it a man or woman, they're single. They could get sick, they pay insurance. They could, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, what is your expectation when you can't even find a job that would pay you a minimum wage? Maybe because of something stupid you did and got yourself into trouble, had issues with law enforcement, and now it's on your record, right? And you can't even get hired by anybody. So it makes it really, really complicated. I've heard the argument that if we were to raise the minimum wage, if you ask me, to $20, $25, small businesses cannot or wouldn't be able to afford to pay. That's when government steps in. The typical rule conventionally is that government steps in to protect and serve its people when they cannot protect or serve themselves. Entrepreneurs in this country, small business owners, are the ones who keep this economy running. I call it running the engine of the United States of America. Small businesses do. In my district, if you were to walk 25 miles south and 25 miles north, east or west, you will see a vast majority of the businesses that are there are small businesses. If we can deploy $300 million to Afghanistan in one day, we can do that for small business as well. Yes, I know there's SBA loans. We can make it even more easier to get SBA loans, small business loans, to give it as an incentive to people who are willing, have good records, records to pay back their loans, and give them money to, help pay for their employees. That would keep a lot of people off the streets, and not just keep folks off the streets, but it would help the American economy. So much so that companies would not outsource their jobs overseas, because that's one reason why. If somebody could get, just to give you a good example, are you surprised as to why the T-Mobile call center is in the Philippines, in Manila, Philippines? I'm sure many people don't know this, but every time you call T-Mobile, for example, which is a European phone company, those who answer your phone calls are in Manila, Philippines. Same thing with the United Airlines, and same thing with most Fortune 500 companies. They are not in this country because people there get paid cheap, but because cost of living over there is also not expensive, but not in this country. We can pay our folks more than just a minimum wage, because we know fully well that they cannot survive on a minimum wage. So you members of Congress, when you sit down there and pass these laws, you know darn well that you take billions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars from that guy your special interest fighting for, from the corporation you're fighting for, from that oil company you're fighting for, to not promote clean energy and all of that. You know that. So you're crippling our economy by promoting minimum wage. Nobody lives on that. An average condo or townhouse in the DMV area to rent a townhome is about $2,500. And even that, you can't find one because they have to go through a series of background checks and things like that. But how do you leave? How do you leave when you earn a minimum wage? You also wonder why, if you go to the street corners and overpass and highways in this country, not just in this state and not just in this district, you find veterans sitting around the street corners for whatever reason that took them over there, asking or holding signs that says, I don't have money to eat, I don't have a place to stay. What happened to that? So we need to change the laws. We need to understand that minimum wage doesn't work, because at the time when they pass minimum wage, they don't pass laws that says rent must stay at $500, or the price of milk at the grocery store must be this, or the price of the gallon of fuel has to be this for X number of time. So if we take all this into consideration, one, we can subsidize small businesses. We can, instead of scratching your back, scratch your stomach first, in the sense that it's before you finance wars for $300 a day, $300 million a day in Afghanistan, pay your teachers more, pay your small business, increase the minimum wage, or reduce the price of, or mandate the reduce the reduction of the price of a gallon of milk, or the price of gas. You've seen in some states the price of gas will go up to $4 a gallon. That doesn't consider your minimum wage when the price of gas goes up. It doesn't consider that, right? So increasingly, when we make these laws, we undermine the strength of the economy. We could be the most powerful nation on earth with the most powerful military, but if you have a dying economy, an economy that pays $10 an hour minimum wage, $12 an hour minimum wage, it still undermines your strength. So let's think about that and ensure that once we pass these laws, it should benefit the ordinary folks in America. And unfortunately, that's not happening because of the kind of people we elect in government offices.
Awesome. Thank you for going to that detail and explaining this to us. So again, we're here. We've gotten the updates from Nigebi on how this whole run for Congress is going. We're very positive that, hey, the next time we talk to him, we'll be talking to a congressman, okay?
That is correct.
The next time we talk to him, we'll be talking to a congressman. The third time is a charm. So we know that we're happy that things are going well. We're happy that you're staying strong. You're staying resilient in doing what you have to do. We also want to say a big thank you to all the supporters right on the ground and virtual supporters. However you're supporting this run, we do appreciate you. Whether it's just sending your love, sending your $1, your $1, $5, $10, or anything you can afford, it is being appreciated. Know that. Nigebi, before we end this, I want you to talk to us about, again, I love to simulate things, right? Talk to us as our congressman, right? Like, hey, this is Nigebi, our congressman. This is Gabriel Njinimbot, the congressman for MD4 district. I want you to be able to talk to us like, okay, if we wake up one morning and you have that mic and you say, yes, you're the congressman, or let's say, no, let me not say the congressman, because if you want to say that, it's going to be a little bit different. Let's say that this is the morning of vote, right? Vote begins today. And you have that opportunity to talk to the people who are eligible to vote in your district. What will you tell them?
Look, I would say, I take this very, very seriously. I take your support very seriously. I take your representation very seriously. I take your concerns very seriously. I take the fact that you are struggling to uplift yourself from below the poverty belt to more than the middle class very seriously. I take the fact that me being in Congress to represent you is a very serious thing. And I would say everything I promised to do. I would try as much as possible to keep it. And I would encourage you to go out there and vote, and not just go out there and vote. Make sure you tag 1, 2, or 3 people and let those 3 people tag another 3, because that's how we can win this election. It is entirely possible. I am maybe naively optimistic, but I can tell you that it is entirely possible based on what I have seen from January to now. It is very, very possible, and I would not disappoint you in any way, shape, or form. I will fight all the way to the day of the election just because I want to be the voice that you need in government. I want to be the voice of the voiceless, the voice of those who have been forgotten, the voice of those who have always been marginalized, and those who have always been looked upon as not being enough, not capable, or not being one of those people who don't believe that you could live a better life than you are living right now. I want to be the one to put you on that glass, on that mirror, and break the glass ceiling so that the next generation, then the young folks, can see that it's entirely possible to be something from nothing and fight for the better good of everyone else.
Amazing. Thank you for those words. And one quick thing I want to throw in here is we look at this as an example. So the reason I will recommend that you look at Nigebi is because for him to be able to do this, he must have had a clean record. It is important that as immigrants, when we come to countries, or we go to different countries of the world, or even within our own country, remember that the things that you do will follow you. And it is important that you do your best to stay out of trouble. Stay out of anything that is going to dirty your record, because as we are supporting him today, someday we want to support you when that dream just bursts out in your heart and you say, hey, I want to do this. Make sure that you keep your records as clean as possible so that when that time comes, you actually qualify to be able to do such runs. And we will be behind you and we will support you. Nigebi, is there anything that you want to talk about that I probably might not have mentioned?
I wanted to say that anybody who's watching in any corner of this world, in any corner of this planet, and no matter what difficulties you're going through at this time, it is just temporary. You should never, ever give up on any of the goals or any of the dreams you have set aside for yourself, because you just never know. And again, if you are ever planning to run for any political office in anywhere, use my struggles as an example, and let me know. I will come up there and knock on some doors for you, because together we can change the world.
Amazing. And I see the final question from Vivian Ayafo. He says, yes, and we will not hesitate to hold our congressman to be accountable when need arises. Yes, I agree with that. And I know he definitely agrees too. Right.
Vivian, thank you for the comment. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing session. Thank you for blessing my platform again, for trusting that, hey, you can come to Solange and we talk about this and you give an update on the run. I do appreciate you. I know that you believe in me, and I will continue to do what I have to do in any way, shape, or form to support you, and also to make sure that I maintain a platform where you can always feel free to come back to talk, to celebrate your success, and also a platform where you can also come back to share some lessons learned. So thank you again, Nigebi. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you for saying yes and coming on the platform.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to come back.
Awesome. And thank you to our listeners. Thank you to those of you who joined on YouTube, on Facebook, those of you who commented. Thank you. Big fat thank you to you. Kindly share the video, like, subscribe to the channel, follow the page, do all what you have to do to support this girl.
And don't forget to go to GabrielForCongress.com and follow me on Facebook as well, and support.
I wanted to be able to put a post, to put the Gabriel for Congress link, because is it okay? I have to ask you this question. Like, is it okay to put that in the comment section so that people can click on it? Is it okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I have to ask you, because I know that sometimes when you do these things, it could be, let me be sure that it is the right thing to do. Oh, I thought there was a link in our group. There is none. Okay, just let me know what is it so that I can type it. So it's I can type it in the comment.
Yeah, GabrielForCongress.com. Yeah.
So thank you all again for coming. If you have any questions, you throw there. I think we have a few minutes so we can take any questions. So if you're watching us,
they can bring it.
Yes, please. If you have any questions, bring it in for me right now before I let our congressman go continue his day.
Yes, we going nonstop. We take a few breaks here and there, but we're out to make sure that the support that the people are giving us, we're keeping up to it, and so that we will have a victory at the end of it.
Amazing. I don't see any questions. If you have any question, please let us know and we'll be able to take it. So yeah, GabrielForCongress.com. And please kindly follow him on Facebook as well, so that you can be updated with everything that is happening. And again, on Facebook, he's Gabriel. I think I tagged him on this show. It's Gabriel Njinimbot. So please kindly follow him right there as well. Oh yeah, I put the right thing. I see it. Yep. So again, if you check in the comment section, you'll be able to see the link for Gabriel for Congress, and you can follow that. Thank you so much, Nigebi. I appreciate you again. I can just say thank you a million times, because
I know. Thank you too.
How much I value your time. Yes. Awesome.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for being part of the You Can Be Anything podcast tribe. I appreciate you for spending the time with us. Please kindly follow the podcast on all the social media platforms at You Can Be Anything Podcast. And if you like to watch the video versions of the episodes, you can find those on YouTube under my name, Solange Che. Please kindly subscribe to that channel. I'd appreciate it. Also, if you would like to support the podcast, there is a support button on the website, www.youcanbeanythingpodcast.com, where you can click on to support the podcast. And for you who is ready to be my guest, do not hesitate to reach out either on the social media platforms or just email me at youcanbeanything21@gmail.com. I'll be happy to have you. Stay blessed and be good to each other. Bye-bye.